but nobody paid me because like nobody watched my videos. So I started putting the mainstream songs in, and then there was a point where there was no copyright strike, so I was making so much money because I was getting 200,000 views, 300,000.
Wait, so how did you start getting a lot of views?
The mainstream songs.
The decomposed remains of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas were just the beginning. Tonight, we're uncovering disturbing new allegations that suggest David Anthony Burke, known as D4VD, may have victimized far more young girls than authorities initially realized. What investigators are finding in his digital footprint is absolutely horrifying, and the pattern of predatory behavior goes back years. But here's what's really chilling. 3 more potential victims have now stepped forward, and what they're revealing about Burke's methods will shock you to your core. But first, you need to understand how Burke's entire operation worked, because what we've discovered about his online grooming tactics is unlike anything we've seen before. And later in this video, I'll reveal the disturbing connection between Burke's song lyrics and the actual crime scene that has investigators convinced this was premeditated murder. Plus, we'll expose the teacher who tried to warn authorities about Burke's relationship with Celeste months before her disappearance, and why his warnings were ignored. But before we dive into these explosive new developments, you need to know about the evidence that's emerged from Burke's Hollywood Hills home. When LAPD executed that search warrant on September 18th, they didn't just find computers and electronics. According to sources close to the investigation, they discovered something that completely changes everything we thought we knew about this case. The investigation into David Anthony Burke has exploded beyond anyone's imagination. What started as the horrific discovery of Celeste Rivas Hernandez's dismembered body in Burke's abandoned Tesla Cybertruck has now mushroomed into something far more sinister. The 19-year-old R&B singer, whose real name is David Anthony Burke, has seen his entire world collapse in just 2 weeks. His record label, Interscope, has suspended all promotional activities. His US and European tours have been canceled. The Grammy Museum pulled his scheduled appearance. Even his collaboration with Hollister and Crocs scrubbed him from their campaign within days. But here's what's really disturbing, and this is something the mainstream media isn't reporting yet. 3 additional young women have now come forward with allegations against Burke that paint a picture of systematic predatory behavior spanning multiple years. These new allegations are so serious that the FBI has now joined the LAPD investigation. And what these victims are telling authorities about Burke's grooming methods will make your blood run cold. But to understand how this all connects, we need to go back to where it all started. Celeste Rivas Hernandez was just 13 years old when she first disappeared from her Lake Elsinore home in April 2024. Her family reported her missing, describing her as last seen wearing Hello Kitty sandals. She returned home briefly after about a month, but then vanished again in May 2024. According to her brother Matthew, who spoke to NBC News, Celeste left home that final time to go see a movie with David Burke. She never came back. On September 8, 2024, the day after what should have been Celeste's 15th birthday, workers at Hollywood Tow reported a foul odor coming from an abandoned Tesla Cybertruck with Texas plates. The vehicle was registered to David Anthony Burke. Inside the front trunk, authorities made a discovery that would haunt veteran investigators. Celeste's dismembered remains, so badly decomposed that identification required forensic analysis. The medical examiner determined she had been dead for an extended period. But here's a detail that investigators haven't released publicly yet, and this will absolutely shock you. According to sources within LAPD, the dismemberment wasn't random. The specific way Celeste's body was cut up matches descriptions from Burke's unreleased music and social media posts. This suggests the murder wasn't just premeditated, it was planned as some twisted artistic expression. Now, 3 more young women have contacted authorities with eerily similar stories about David Burke. And what they're revealing exposes a systematic pattern of predatory behavior that goes back to at least 2022. The first victim, who we'll call Sarah to protect her identity, was just 14 when she claims Burke first contacted her through Discord in late 2022. According to her statement to authorities, Burke used his growing fame and promises of meeting other celebrities to manipulate her into sending explicit photos. "He made me feel special," Sarah told investigators. "He said I was different from his other fans, that I could be part of his inner circle." But then the requests started getting more and more inappropriate. Sarah's mother discovered the relationship when she found disturbing messages on her daughter's phone. When they tried to report it to local police, they were told it was a civil matter since no physical contact had occurred. The second victim's story is even more disturbing because it reveals how Burke would use his concerts as hunting grounds for new targets. And what she discovered about Burke's VIP meet and greets will absolutely horrify you. The second alleged victim, 16-year-old Jessica, attended one of Burke's concerts in Houston in early 2023. She was selected for what Burke called a special VIP experience, a private meet and greet that wasn't part of the official tour package. According to Jessica's statement to authorities, Burke invited her and 2 other young fans to his hotel room after the concert. What happened next exposes a calculated pattern of manipulation that investigators believe Burke used to identify the most vulnerable targets. He had us all fill out these questionnaires that he said were for his fan database, Jessica reported, but the questions were really personal, about our home lives, our relationships with our parents, whether we had boyfriends, if we'd ever run away before. Burke would use this information to identify girls from troubled backgrounds or those with strained family relationships. Exactly the type of vulnerable teenagers who might be willing to leave home for a celebrity relationship. Jessica's mother became suspicious when her daughter started receiving expensive gifts with no return address, designer clothes, jewelry, and electronics. When confronted, Jessica broke down and revealed her ongoing communication with Burke. Here's where this gets really serious. The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit has now created a profile of Burke based on these victim statements, and what they've concluded is absolutely chilling. They believe Burke may have victimized dozens of young girls across multiple states, potentially making this one of the largest celebrity predator cases in recent history. The electronics seized from Burke's Hollywood Hills rental are revealing the scope of his alleged crimes. According to sources close to the investigation, Burke maintained detailed files on hundreds of young fans, including personal information, photos, and psychological profiles. But here's what's really disturbing. Investigators found evidence that Burke was sharing information about these girls with other adults in what appears to be a larger network of predators. The third victim's story reveals just how far this network extends, and her connection to Burke will absolutely shock you because it involves someone you definitely know. This third victim's allegations don't just implicate Burke. They expose a whole network of entertainment industry figures who may have been facilitating these crimes. And when you hear who else is involved in this story, you'll understand why this case is about to become the biggest scandal in music industry history. But that's not all. We've also uncovered evidence that multiple record labels knew about Burke's inappropriate relationships with minors and chose to cover it up to protect their investments. The documents we've obtained prove that industry executives received warnings about Burke as early as 2022, but decided his commercial success was more important than protecting children. Plus, we'll reveal the shocking connection between Burke's lyrics and the actual murder that has investigators convinced this was all planned out in advance. And you won't believe what they found in his studio that directly links his music to Celeste's death. In part 2, we're going to expose everything: the industry cover-up, the full extent of Burke's alleged crimes, and the evidence that proves this goes far deeper than anyone imagined. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on, because this story is about to explode across every major news outlet, and you're getting it here first. The truth about David Anthony Burke is finally coming to light, and it's worse than anyone could have imagined. According to internal documents we've obtained, at least 3 major record labels received detailed reports about Burke's inappropriate relationships with minors as early as September 2022. These weren't just rumors or gossip. These were formal complaints from parents, detailed incident reports, and even police report numbers. Interscope Records, Burke's current label, received a 6-page complaint in October 2022 from the mother of a 14-year-old fan in Phoenix. The complaint included screenshots of explicit conversations, photos Burke had requested, and evidence of financial transactions. Burke had sent this child over $3,000 in gifts and cash through various payment apps. But here's what's absolutely disgusting. Instead of dropping Burke or reporting this to authorities, Interscope's response was to hire a reputation management firm to monitor social media for any allegations against their rising star. The internal emails between Interscope executives are absolutely damning, and when you hear what they were saying about these victim reports behind closed doors, you'll understand why this is about to become a federal criminal conspiracy case. In an email dated November 15, 2022, Interscope A&R executive Marcus Chen wrote to label president John Janik, "The Burke situation is manageable. These are just overly attached fans. His streaming numbers are through the roof, and we can't let unsubstantiated allegations derail what could be our biggest breakthrough artist of 2023. Janik's response, sent the same day, is even more shocking. Agreed. Have legal draft standard NDAs for any complainants. offers settlement packages if necessary. Burke's romantic homicide is tracking to go platinum. We're not losing that revenue over teenage drama. These executives weren't just ignoring warning signs. They were actively covering up evidence of serious crimes against children to protect their profit margins. But the Universal Music Group connection makes this cover-up even more sinister because it involves someone who should have been protecting his own daughter. The third victim is 15-year-old Madison, daughter of Universal Music Group Senior Vice President Robert Martinez. Madison first encountered Burke at an industry event in Los Angeles in December 2022, where her father was discussing a potential distribution deal for Burke's music. According to Madison's statement to authorities, Burke specifically targeted her because of her father's position. He said my dad could help make him even bigger, but that it had to be our secret because business relationships were complicated, Madison told investigators. Burke used his relationship with Madison to get inside information about UMG's signing strategies, upcoming releases, and even confidential financial data about other artists. But the psychological manipulation went much deeper. What Burke was doing with this industry information will shock you because it reveals a level of criminal sophistication that goes far beyond just predatory behavior. He was using these girls as unwitting spies in a massive fraud scheme. Her father, Robert Martinez, has now been placed on administrative leave from UMG pending a federal investigation into whether he knowingly facilitated Burke's access to his daughter and confidential company information. Remember that middle school teacher who tried to warn authorities about Celeste's relationship with Burke? We've now obtained the full documentation of his attempts to get help, and what happened to his reports is absolutely infuriating. James Morrison, who taught at Lakeland Village Middle School, didn't just casually mention Celeste's situation to his students. He filed formal reports with both school administration and local law enforcement in March 2024, a full month before Celeste's first disappearance. Morrison's report to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department included specific details about Burke's grooming tactics, evidence of the online relationship, and his professional opinion that Celeste was being exploited by an adult predator. But what happened to Morrison's report reveals a systemic failure that let Burke continue operating for months. And when you hear how many agencies dropped the ball on this case, you'll understand why Celeste's death could have been prevented. Morrison's report sat in a Riverside County Sheriff's file for 6 weeks without any follow-up investigation. When Morrison called to check on the status, he was told the case had been classified as non-priority because no physical crimes had been reported. But here's what's really infuriating. The detective assigned to Morrison's report, Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez, never even attempted to contact Burke, Celeste, or her family. Rodriguez has since been suspended pending an internal investigation. Morrison tried again in April 2024, this time contacting the FBI's Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. His second report included additional evidence he had gathered, including screenshots from other students who had seen Burke's social media interactions with Celeste. The FBI acknowledged receipt of Morrison's report, but took no immediate action. It wasn't until Celeste's body was discovered that anyone in law enforcement connected Morrison's warnings to the homicide investigation. But the most shocking evidence isn't in his music. It's what investigators found in Burke's recording studio that proves he was planning this murder for months. When authorities searched Burke's rented studio space in North Hollywood, they discovered a collection of items that directly connect to Celeste's murder. This includes detailed floor plans of the Hollywood Hills house, where he was staying, maps of remote locations throughout Los Angeles County, with several circled in red ink, a notebook containing what appears to be a timeline for disposal logistics, photographs of the Tesla Cybertruck's front trunk with measurements written in the margins. But the most damning evidence is a voice memo Burke recorded on his phone in February 2024, 2 months before Celeste's disappearance. In this recording, Burke can be heard discussing how to make someone disappear without a trace, and the perfect crime for someone famous. The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit has now classified Burke as a sophisticated organized predator with potential victims numbering in the dozens. Their profile suggests Burke may have been operating for as long as 4 years, targeting girls as young as 11 years old. Special Agent Patricia Williams, who leads the FBI's investigation, told our sources that Burke represents a new category of predator who uses social media fame and industry connections to access victims on an unprecedented scale. This isn't just about one young girl, Agent Williams reportedly told her team. We're looking at a criminal enterprise that exploited the parasocial relationships between celebrities and fans to commit serious federal crimes. The scope of Burke's alleged crimes extends far beyond what we've covered today, and the evidence we haven't been able to share yet will absolutely devastate you when it comes to light. Authorities are now actively seeking additional victims. They've established a dedicated tip line and have investigators stationed in every city where Burke performed concerts. Based on patterns identified in his digital communications, the FBI believes there could be victims in at least 12 different states. Dr. Sarah Chen, a forensic psychologist consulting on the case, told our sources that Burke's method of operation suggests systematic predation with a level of planning and sophistication rarely seen in cases involving celebrity perpetrators. The investigation has now expanded to include potential charges of human trafficking, racketeering, and conspiracy, charges that could result in life imprisonment if Burke is convicted. As this investigation continues to unfold, one thing is certain: the David Anthony Burke case will change how we think about celebrity culture, fan relationships, and the responsibility of entertainment companies to protect vulnerable young people. But there's still more evidence that hasn't been released yet. Sources tell us that Burke's arrest is imminent, and when it happens, the full scope of his alleged crimes will finally be revealed. We'll be covering every development as this story continues to evolve. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on, because this case is far from over. The truth about David Anthony Burke is just beginning to come to light, and what we learn next will shake the entertainment industry to its core. If you or someone you know has been victimized by David Anthony Burke, or anyone in the music industry, please contact the FBI's tip line. Your information could be crucial in bringing justice for Celeste and the other victims. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on this case. Do you think the music industry will actually change? Or will this just be another scandal that gets forgotten? And let me know what other cases you want us to investigate next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.